Change. Change. That's the only thing that actually you can really count on is change. Right now here in the United States, we are going through change for the worse. A lot of people in the media are jumping on board the Constitution and a lot of other things that they feel are current events, but these changes have been in the making for quite a long time. Obviously 1913 sowed the seeds in a major way of the destruction of this country, the Depression, the New Deal, another horrible step downwards. So we've been a socialized country for definitely since the Great Depression in the 30s and 40s, and then it's just been an increasing socialization and Bush just accelerated that tremendously, and then Obama's putting the frosting on the cake. So it's interesting for me, watching the different channels, mostly the financial channels, a little bit of CNN, to see the little guy, have we hit a bottom here, let's get in here, let's do this or that. And then I watched those rah-rah things on the financial channels meant for the little guy. But then, I read through the lines and you get some Lulus like John Mack, the CEO of JP Morgan. Evidently, they let a Bloomberg reporter on the call. I haven't gone to the Bloomberg.com website, but just, the fact that they were able to get on the call, which means it was allowed to get out there. And Mack is his name, the CEO of JP Morgan. No end to the Wall Street woes in 2009 will be a difficult year for us. So that's relevant news. Lots been going on with me, but this one here, I had to pick up this Wall Street Journal because there's history. Government forces out Wagoner at GM. So this was going to be titled GM. I think I'll just call it Change because that's a big deal for the government to force out a CEO of a massive corporation. We have central planning. We're in it. Once again, Bush sowed some of the big seeds of this at the end of his administration as far as the bailouts, and now they're sprouting and growing very fast. So obviously that's a horrible precedent. And then the other one, just amazing to watch, is that the government is going to guarantee warranties with at least two of the big automakers. And of course that's totally unfair to Ford, so Ford will be competing against the US government. And so people act like capitalism is ending right now. No, capitalism has been ending for decades and decades. This is just the final end to, not capitalism, it's the final end to freedom. We haven't had free market capitalism here for over a century, maybe a century and a half. So 60 days for GM, 30 days for Chrysler. You got these guys frantically trying to work out and please the government. Guys like Barney Frank making decisions. Of course, the G20 is happening now, so that's another huge topic. 500 people. That's President Obama's entourage. 500 people. That's got to cost some money. And then the French president grandstanding for New World Order policies. Of course, those of us that are informed know that that's de facto going to happen for sure. And once again, as I started out my videos, I notice whether it's Michael Savage or some of these other people that they say to watch. I just, I have friends, watch Michael Savage, watch Michael Savage. I've learned a lot of, I don't know, I've had stuff confirmed by Alex Jones, but like I've said before, I've studied this stuff 20, 30 years ago. Bohemian Grove's nothing new to students of the conspiracy. You go back to John Birch material. I was friends with a guy called Jack McManus when I was back at Harvard. He was running the John Birch Society. He was one of their main writers. Eloquent, and that, you talk about unpopular to study. It was extremely unpopular back then. But so this information on the conspiracy and all this is, 20, 30 years old. Get back to Eustace Mullins and all that stuff. So just, the guys now, whether it's Savage or they're just rehashing things. They're just rehashing. And so a lot of people that are not that informed, it's exciting. Well, they're finding out about some things. But, when Michael Savage starts dealing with the second coming of Jesus Christ, then then he would be on a serious vein. But I don't think he's going to do that. Once again, man of truth, I endeavor to integrate as best I can the knowledge of God with what's going on in the financial markets, and they're inseparable. They're inseparable because God absolutely does exist. This is all planned out. So you've got the inside information. It's called the Bible, which is a compilation of books. I'm past wanting to get into arguments with whether it's Mormons or born-agains or Buddhists or whatever, because the truth comes from a lot of different sources. There's not one institution that has exclusive rights or exclusive access to the truth. Okay? There's not one institution where you're going to find all the truth. Not one. So, as we prepare for the second coming of Jesus Christ, of course, reading Matthew 24, Book of Revelations, Daniel, and I get a lot of suggestions. I get a lot of stuff coming in at me from a lot of different areas and a lot of offers. Tons of stuff's happening. But my basic premise in my first video is integrating spiritual knowledge, or the de facto absolute for sure fact that Jesus Christ is going to return. This time he's going to kick some butt in a big way, and I'm glad he is. Man's had his chance and he's done a crappy job. Man has really messed things up. So the world's going down. We're going to watch the death throes of the United States, and then we'll have the New World Order, of course, for a few years, and it'll be brutal and dictatorial. Of course, there's going to be FEMA camps and, martial law. It's like old news to inform the patriots. So we'll have all that stuff, and then as the United States breaks down and goes into anarchy, we'll have those that will support true principles. And out of the ashes of what remains here in the United States of America, and we're going to take the brunt of this world, my UK listeners, Norway, Finland, Australia, Canada, Mexico, todos los otros lados. Vamos a tener un lío tremendo aquí en los Estados Unidos. We're going to have tremendous, when we already have it going on, but it's going to get accelerated. It's going to be accelerated 100, 1,000 times worse in the coming months. We're not going to have to wait a year for some really rough things to happen next few months. Okay, back to reflection. Getting a few things done. That's it.